So, Peadar Hughes, welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast. First, thank you for being here. And the reason I wanted you to be on the podcast really is because I see you inspiring other people. You show up consistently, and I really wanted an opportunity to show other people more about who you are, some of the examples that kind of come from your past and history and the hero's journey that you've been on, but also hopefully to share some insights and some lessons and just tips and strategies that might emerge from the conversation as well that we can offer the people listening or watching. But just thank you for being here firstly.
Thank you so much for the invitation, mate. Hopefully I can give some value to the listener today.
No doubt you will. So the aim really was to kind of share inspiring stories from people that you could be beside in the queue in Tesco or Sainsbury's that other people see as heroes or people to look up to, and to show that actually everyone can be that hero in their own story. And I want to try and inspire people to kind of grab that pen, create the hero that they can be in their own story. So for anyone listening, tell us a little bit about you, Peadar. What are you up to? What's going on for you in this kind of chapter of your life?
So I am an online coach. I've been doing this for the last 2 years. I help people lose weight. I help people get their confidence back and apparently inspire people. Thank you very much for that. I met Phil, what was it, about a year ago? Yeah. Met you about a year ago now. We've actually done a podcast together before. I'm going to plug my own podcast here. Go listen to that. It was very, very good.
What's the name?
And the Peadar Hughes podcast. Yeah, it took me a while to think of that one. And yeah, that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. I've been doing this for the last 2 years and I plan on keep doing it for the next couple of years.
Amazing. And when you were starting out, often heroes get a kind of call to an adventure. So do you remember what that was for you when you were kind of starting out on that kind of path to being a personal trainer?
What was like the call to being a personal trainer?
Yeah. What was the drive or the motivation behind that initially when you started out?
I think I was toying with the idea. See, there's a couple of different points in my life where I went to revisit it, if you know what I mean. But I remember toying with the idea when I was a student. I was studying sports something. I can't even remember the name, but that's how little I cared about it. It was like sports coaching and something. And you could get qualified through that for like 200 quid to be a personal trainer. So in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I could, get qualified, do that as my part-time job and study. And once I got my student loan, I went to like a PT business mentorship event. Wasn't even a qualified person, wasn't even close to being a qualified personal trainer. I still went to this. And I think at that, I realized that there's actually such a potential to have such an impact and to actually do really well out of it as well. Because I think I sort of looked at it in the aspect of, personal trainers, who I know who were just doing the same sort of thing. I didn't think there was a lot of room for growth in it. And once I realized that there was, I was like, yeah, this is something I could do all right in if I really, really wanted to. And I think that was it. I think that day at that business mentorship was when it really clicked for me. And I'm sorry about my dog in the background. I know you can hear that.
Don't be sorry. Do you want to let them out or?
No, he's all right. My brother's out there. He's fucking crazy. I'm actually going to see a dog trainer after this. So we're gonna hopefully sort that out.
So the next podcast, there'll be no barking or anything.
No. He'd be sitting here doing it with me.
If you can, if that's possible, and would see then could Elvis do the same, because I don't think it's possible.
Hopefully. Yeah, I know you have your hands full with an energetic dog too. Like so.
Yeah. So it was that event, Peadar, that kind of reaffirmed that journey that you were going to go on then?
100%. Yeah. So much so that I actually have the book I bought before the event sitting here, like that I made the notes in out of a Waitrose. It was really, really significant. Yeah. Because I think that's when I realized, like I said, you can work for yourself and you can do all right. And it sort of just showed me the possibilities,
Nice. And was there ever, like, when you sometimes make those commitments, sometimes there's kind of hesitation or nerves around that kind of adventure, that kind of call to adventure. Did that show up for you, or what was that kind of, how was that for you?
So for me at the time, then it was easy because I was like, I'll use 200 quid out of the student loan to pay for it. If it doesn't work out, it's 200 quid and a week long to do this course. But then at that event, they were talking about posting content and stuff like that. So I started doing a bit of that to try build the client base before I got qualified type of thing. And a lad messaged me, it's a coach I'm actually friends with now, and he said, oh, you should check out this place, Elite, which is now ECA. And I got in touch with Lenny, and he was telling me, about the price of the course and stuff. And I'll be completely transparent. I said this to Lenny before at the time. I was like, no, not a chance, because it was significantly more than what I could have got qualified for. And at the time, sorry, I was in the mindset of, oh, I'll just do it the cheapest way possible. So I think the hesitation came from me when I realized that, one, it was going to be a lot more expensive than I thought, and two, like, it was going to be a lot more commitment. I'd have to drive to Belfast twice a week. I'd have to do it for a wee bit longer and stuff. So yeah, 100%. And doubting yourself as well. You know, everyone around me being like, oh, just do the cheap one. You know, I sure you even want to do this. It's a big career change and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, 100%. I faced all the hesitation, all the resistance.
Yeah. So that kind of money, kind of self-doubt, those kind of self-challenges or kind of ways that would hold you back, show it up, I guess. And then was there people that helped you, I guess, make sense of that differently so that you could kind of proceed? Like, was there a mentor or a guide or somebody in your corner kind of telling you to keep going?
I think that's when I started getting into personal development, and that was a big thing for me. I had read, because rewind a couple of months, I had done this before. I was like, right, big career change. I'm going to be an electrician. So I went to work on a building site. I think I lasted 3 days, and like that was just not me at all. So I've a checkered past of starting and quitting big things. I think at the time is when I started finding out. I didn't find out about like Tony Robbins or anything yet, but it was like James Smith, you know, entry level personal development, let's say. And yeah, I think it was just sort of the fact that if I didn't like it, I didn't need to do it anymore. You know, I could just go at it, test the water. I'm young. I was 18 at the time. Most people don't have a shot at something until they're in their 30s. So I was like, I may as well try it. If it fails, I'll only be 21.
Amazing. Do you remember any of the kind of, so the personal development was through James Smith, or was there other kind of stuff that stands out to you at that time?
Yeah, I think that's like I said, he done a podcast and he was just mentioned, he was just name dropping people every now and then. And then I would just go, like Ryan Holiday, for example. I was like, oh, I'll get this book, Obstacle is the Way. So I got The Obstacle is the Way. He name dropped The Art of Thinking Big. So I was like, oh, I'll go read that book. And as you start to branch out a wee bit, you know yourself, like there's just rabbit holes in different areas you can go down with that stuff. And I did.
Nice. And so that was the kind of mentoring or the people, I guess, kind of guiding some of the path for you in that kind of personal development space. But I'm sure, no doubt, when you set off at 18 to become a PT, or you were 21?
I think what age was I? I think I was 19 when I started. It was 18 when I was like 20, I was 19 when I actually started. And then I think I was 19 or 20 when I qualified. My dates are a bit messed up with like, yeah. I don't know, but yeah, 19, I think.
And what were some of the challenges then that come up for you along that path? Because at 18 or 19, you don't know a lot about the world, right? But you were still able to keep going until now. So what were some of the challenges that come up, and what were some of the things that you think kind of kept you going as well?
I think the biggest challenge was time back then, because like I said, I was studying. I was doing that sports whatever course, we'll just call it a sports course. I was working part-time, I was working at B&Q, and then I was getting qualified as well. And if I was going to do that, that would mean I didn't have one single day of the week where I wasn't doing something. You know, I was always on it. I was waking up, going to like the tech to do that course, coming home, going straight on the train to Belfast, or I was going straight to work. I was just absolutely flat out busy. And then money as well, because I was 18. I was broke. I was working part-time, you know. I think I budgeted myself to like, it was like £30 a week by the time I paid for absolutely everything. And that was to do my food shop, pay for petrol to go to Belfast, get the train or whatever it was. So yeah, it was challenging. Like, I think the only thing that kept me going with it was the stuff I was reading at the time. I was reading the 4-Hour Work Week for the first time, which is so cringy, but like in my head, I was like, you know, this is what I'm chasing type of thing when I was on the train up to Belfast. And yeah, I think that's the only thing that really kept me going. And I have to give a bit of a mention to Lenny as well. I know I mentioned James Smith and the likes. They were there from a distance, but from a more hands-on perspective, like I was chatting to Lenny flat out back then. That was very, very helpful.
Nice. Yeah, he seems to be a good guide for people.
Yeah, he seems to put me in a lot of uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. And see, I didn't know a lot of this stuff about you, Peadar. And like that, if other people were to encounter or bang into that kind of difficulty of literally of £30 at the end of the month left over at the end of the week, do you think that that's some of the reason why people kind of shy away from moving forward and kind of turn back to what's easy or what was before?
100%, yeah. And that's, I think I'm only really starting to get this now, 3-4 years on. People always ask me, it's such a typical PT thing. So people always ask me, how do I stay so motivated and stuff like that? And the truth is I'm not really. I just sort of, back then, I really didn't like that job. I really didn't like that degree that I was pursuing. You know, that was going to be a couple of years and £30,000. I was like, I don't want, and it was the fact that I didn't want that so much. So it's not that I was motivated, I was driven, I was happy. I was just so, I'm not going to say unhappy, I was happy, but I was so pissed off at this stuff that I was like, I'm willing to do anything. You know, if it means a couple of months of graft, then I'll do that.
And how did you get through that? Because that's difficult as well. I know you're saying it's only a couple of months, but how did you not motivate, but is it because the alternative just wasn't for you?
Yeah, and Lenny made me get up at 5 a.m. for quite a while as well. I said to him I struggle with time. He just sent me this voice and was like, get up at 5 and send me a photo. I was like, for fuck's sake. So that did help as well. I don't do that now. Like I don't even nearly do that now. But yeah, that I have to give that a bit of support too. Plus that was when I just started. Like I was doing a lot of like YouTube videos and Instagram videos. So I was trying to juggle all this on top of my own training and just being 18 in general, you know.
And when you're that age, Peadar, and when you're like walking between all of those different kind of competing priorities, like how do you stay focused on moving forward and again not allowing the challenges to hold you back? Like what did you focus on? Was there some kind of vision of the future that you were trying to move towards, or like how did you remove any of the noise that could have held you back and made you stay the same or at least go the easy path?
It's a fucking great question. I think that was the first time I got into proper goal setting, you know, like in its most basic form, A3 page, about 10 things on it, you know, and I did every single one of them because it was the first ever time I had a visual reminder of something. And I'd heard that on a podcast and I was like, I'm not going to lie, first I was like, that's bullshit. That's, you know, hippie manifestation stuff. And it worked. I was like, I'll try it anyway. And it worked. And now, like, as we speak, there's about 4 A3 pages on the wall behind you because I believe in that stuff now.
Nice. Please teach me.
Well, no, that was the biggest thing. And I'm sure you've had your experience, like the first goal setting experience. I get this with clients now. They're like, I can't believe, you know, how easy it is because you're working towards something. Like you say, you get challenges, you get resistance, you get distractions. But ultimately, if you know what it is that you want and you're clear on that, I think that makes it all a lot easier.
Yeah, nice. And that helps you then kind of stay or shift your focus away from that noise or things that can hold you back from it because you know what you're moving towards.
100%, yeah. And I think I made the mistake back then, which I don't think I am now, is that you can sort of have both. You know, maybe not for me in that time when it was like essentially 2 degrees and then a job. That was very, very busy. But like now, for example, I probably could have afforded to enjoy myself a wee bit more, had a wee bit more fun. I don't think you need to grind yourself as much as I did.
But then you kind of condition that work ethic going forward then as well. And then you can be more intentional about knowing when to balance between work and kind of enjoyment as well, right?
Yeah. And I know people say like, you don't need to do it and stuff. I think you kind of do to find the balance because you need to go too much the one way to realize what balance is for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Nice point. And so that sounds like a kind of challenging couple of months. But in those challenges, no doubt, you also got gems of learning and things and insights about yourself, about how to be successful or how to like run a business and set it up from zero, right? So what were some of those insights that came from those kind of challenging times and that kind of initial kind of start to your PT career?
2 of the biggest ones, which like directly contradict each other and are back to back. The first one was I realized like, this is going to sound so obvious, but I was 18, I'd never done this before in my life. The harder you work, the more tends to happen. Like, or do you know what I mean? Whatever it is that you're working towards, like the harder you train in the gym, you're probably going to get bigger than if you didn't train as hard. The harder you try to make more money if you're just starting out self-employed, the more chance that you will. And then, like I said, this contradicts it a wee bit. As I went on, I realized it's not really about effort, it's more so focus. So the more you focus on something or the more focused work you do on something, you know what I mean? Because I think I work just as hard now, I'm just as efficient, but I'm not as like about it.
So you're more focused versus just now. Being, as Lenny would say, like the busy fool, right?
Yes, yeah. I do less, but it's more precise, more, you know. I think I heard an analogy one time, it's like a sniper and a machine gun or something.
Yeah.
Like you just want to be.
And how do you, because before we press record, you said about like creating that future vision, but one that allows for flexibility. So how do you balance that? So getting clear on a future vision and this is me learning on the fly, right? Getting clear on the future vision, but allowing it to be flexible enough that it can react to the world for you.
Recently, I learned a bit of a thing for this. I'm sure you've heard of the whole hot pen technique before. Did you ever?
Yeah.
I did one of them, and I left it like for like a day or two, trying not to consciously think about it. And then I went back through it and picked out things that I liked.
Nice.
And used that to work towards, because when you're writing for that long, you do write a lot of shit. I wrote like gold Rolex stuff that was like flashy that I don't really care about. So I picked out the stuff that I actually cared about, and that's what I went for. And then I change it. Like sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I don't really want to do that anymore. Priorities have shifted a bit.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that future vision is so. I'm listening to a book at the moment called I think it's Help People Change, or How People Change, and it's really interesting. So it talks about positive emotional activation or negative emotional activation, and most of marketing focuses on negative emotional activation, and that's what causes you to take action. So when you didn't want to do the degree, or you didn't want to go that path towards being an electrician, that was a negative emotional activator towards something that you did want. With positive emotional activation, it's actually like, how can I dial into your inspiration or your curiosity or your kind of motivation towards something positive? And it links to more positive emotions, but it's a different type of, like, you're motivated away from pain or towards pleasure. It's focusing on that kind of towards pleasure type thing. So I'm really curious about like dialing that up for people and getting them really clear on it and allowing this negative stuff to fall away, because I just think we hold ourselves back and we don't have that future vision. So we just run around on a hamster wheel thinking because we're busy or because we're spending lots of effort, well, then that's all right. But we get to the end of another year and we go like, what has happened in that year? And there might not be enough because we haven't measured what's important, or even, like you're saying, pick out from a big document, you could say, if it's a hot pen thing, from a page, what are the 3 things? We haven't done that work, and then work towards it. So I love that. I really like it.
100%. And following on what you said there, I can't remember who it was that said it. You probably know. It was like, your biggest problems tend to be your biggest goals, because it's something. If it's a big problem for you, it's clearly something that you value that you're not doing work on. And I think it might have been Jordan Peterson. It sounds like something he would have said, that if there's big things going wrong, that's probably something you should be working towards. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If people are let's say struggling for money, as the easiest example, well, savings would be a good target then. I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at it. And now I sort of look at things like what's lacking, and I'll focus on that a wee bit more.
I love that. And I was saying to you as well before we press record, I feel like I've been in a few little slumps or something like that recently. So one of the documents as like a toolkit that I've created is how to get yourself out of a slump. And it's 50 questions and why I've picked those questions. And when you start working through some of them, for example, like, who loves me and who do I love? Right.
Yeah.
Totally shifts your focus away from what you were focused on. That's probably making you feel a bit slumpy, if that's a word. Yeah. Let's pretend it's a word, right? But it shifts your attention. There's loads of, like, there's 50 questions in it. I'll ping you a copy after this, but the reason I bring that up, I guess, is like that's a problem. So then I, by default, was like, other people must be experiencing this. So the way I always do it is go back to questions, shift the questions you're asking yourself, and it'll shift what you're focused on, which changes how you feel. So that's interesting. I really like that. I don't know who said it. It's probably somebody like Jordan Peterson, but yeah, I'll be using that again.
Yeah, so it sounds like him done that, like a struggle sort of. He's a very struggle sort of mentality, isn't he?
Yeah. And I listened to Alex Hormozy this morning, and he was saying that if you say, I'm going to chase happiness, or I want this so that I'll be happy, you always kind of move the thing like happiness away from you. And if you say then that life has to be meaningful and it's not at the moment, well, then you're kind of, the expectation doesn't match the reality. So you're actually feeling worse than you are. But actually, when you see that actually life can be problems and that can be the things then that you move away from, or it's a totally different dynamic with life, where you accept it as it is, and then you make changes to move forward towards the goals that are solving the problems that you're currently experiencing, but you're not trying to get something from something else. You're working towards it, which is different. It's different.
Yeah, things don't have to be bad for you to want it to be better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like we're just shouting quotes to each other back and forth here. People are listening.
Like, how did NASA organize a party? They plan it. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So when you like that's such an adventure and a journey that you've been on, Peadar. When you kind of return home and your family see you, or friends who you used to hang around with when you were 17, 18, and maybe some were considering that path that you were on, to become an electrician, let's say, or B&Q or any of those kind of things. How do you show up differently now than that version of who they're expecting you to be?
One interesting question. I feel like I'm probably just a lot more energetic, you know. I think that's part of the parcel of trying to like live a more exciting life, for want of a better phrase. Like, I think I just show up better because I'm more happier in myself. And that's probably the best way of putting it. And I feel like I'm a lot more available for other people now because I'm not so focused on just trying to chase something. I'm sort of living what I wanted to live a couple of years ago. And although the goal is bigger now, it's still the same. Do this full time. And just, you know.
Yeah, so happier and more energy.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. And what do you think makes people heroes? What qualities do you think makes people heroes?
Fucking hell. I want to say selflessness, but I think both selfishness and selflessness play a part in that. You know, because I like you, I would really respect you, for example, but I know you would be very selfish in your own right. You know what I mean? You would be able to say no if you wanted to, but then again, you're able to give so much. But I think that they sort of work together in that, don't they?
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. And people who are caring. I think if you care about other people and you're interested in other people, that's a person you want to be with. You know, people who ask you how you are rather than just talk about themselves. Which is funny because I'm talking here, but I'm being interviewed, so it's okay.
It's different. Yeah, you're okay to talk about yourself right now.
Yeah.
And if somebody listening wanted to become a hero in their lives, and again, you can link this back to maybe how you work with your clients. Again, I'm happy for like that could be the connection or how you make sense of it. But how would you coach people or advise them to kind of take that ownership, or like you're saying with Jordan Peterson, to take that responsibility for becoming more or becoming their best self, or any of that kind of language around like becoming the hero of their own story? How would you, like, what are the, I don't know, 3 things that you would advise them or coach them towards becoming that hero for themselves?
I'm going to say something you said to me a couple of months ago, and it's give from your overflow, and not don't like give to yourself first. Do what you want to do first. Focus on you, because I feel like you're going to show up a lot better to the people around you. And I think I'm starting to realize that a lot more. It's probably the biggest piece of advice.
That's a Rumi quote. Yeah. Never give it from the depths of your being, I think, or soul, but from your overflow.
Yeah. I think if you want to show up for other people, that's the only way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah. Anything else that you tell them?
I think that's if they want to be a hero in their own life.
Yeah.
Get coaching in some way. And I hate saying that because I hate coaches that just say all the time, you know, get a coach. It doesn't need to be me. It doesn't need to be Philip. You can whoever you want, but
no, it needs to be me. Sorry.
Sorry, it needs to be Phil. It's your podcast. Discount code Phil20.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, discount code Peadar Hughes.
Like you're sort of fast tracking it in a way there. You know, I feel like if I hadn't had done the different programs and courses and everything I've done over the last couple of years, I wouldn't be nearly where I am. I'd still just be struggling and trying on my own. And it wouldn't be impossible, but it'd be a lot fucking harder.
Yeah.
And you can just put energy into doing rather than trying to learn and guess and do it at the same time and then doubt yourself as well. It's just they tell you what to do, you do it.
Yeah, it's just an execution. Again, it's back to focus versus effort.
Exactly. And I'm still reading the page every morning, by the way. I know we haven't spoken a couple of months, but you told me to, and I've finished 1.5 books this year. Nice. Yeah, that's from a page or 2 every morning.
Yeah. People forget that stuff compounds. It's crazy.
But that's coaching though, isn't it? Because I was in the mindset of every time you have a free minute, you have to pick up a book, you have to do it, which you've probably done before, and then realized it's better to just do a page a day. So you've skipped that part for me, and thank you for
that. You're welcome. And what are you excited about next in your future? So what do you kind of see on the horizon for you that you're working towards, or that you're excited about and kind of energizes you?
In a way, talking about what we were talking, it sounds like a bit of a weird question, but I'm excited for what's going to challenge me a bit, not to the extent where it's going to floor me, but everything that I'm looking at the A3 pages here, everything that I have set out to do, as excited as I am for it, I know it's all going to be different. It's all going to change. And I'm excited to see how that's going to change and what's going to be different and what's going to be next as well. You know, I've been doing the same thing the last couple of years, although it's growing and I'm happy with it. I'd like to get into something else. And right now the public speaking thing is becoming a bit of a thing. So I would like for that to explode. I'd like to be doing more and more public speaking because that's very, very challenging, as you know.
Yeah, nice. And we can talk about that because I have that as one of my kind of growth areas, and I'm paying a lot of attention to it and speaking to a couple of people that you'd be interested to connect with, or at least we could set up kind of conversations between you if that helps. And you get a lot from it. And we can talk about something coming up in September or October as well in Dublin. There's a big global speaker summit, GSS, I think it is.
Amazing.
Some of the best speakers in the world will all be there, all kind of pitching and competing against each other. And there's an opportunity to compete and put your name in to be able to take part in the competition. So mission or challenge accepted, right?
Edit that bit out.
And what question did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
Fucking hell. I wish I prepared for this a wee bit better now. I know I said I know I said, you know, I didn't want to be overly interview-esque, but let me see, what question I wish you have asked me. That's a hard one. That's a very, very hard one. Probably something about yourself. And I would say this probably for everyone who comes on. What have you taught that person specifically? Because I have to credit you in the last 6 months to a year since I've known you. You've helped me more than you realize behind the scenes, even just seeing some of the stuff you post. Although you mightn't even know it, or I might already know what it is. It's just shifting perspective in a certain way. So yeah, something about what you've taught me in the last year is definitely something that I wish I could give you a bit more credit for.
Okay. And what would your answer be?
Selfishness. Putting myself first, give from your overflow and focusing on you. And it's not a bad thing. I think that word, even when I say it, it still sounds a bit negative to me. It's still got those negative connotations, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And that you're worthy of that selfishness too, as in you deserve to look after yourself.
Yeah,
and I think
100%.
we think if we look after ourselves, selfish is not lovable. Like we've been conditioned with these kind of ways of thinking about the words, but yeah, it's powerful when you do. And again, all the guidance is your own oxygen mask first. There's all these examples, but when you actually live it and make peace with you deserving time, love, attention, energy, all of those kind of things that you contribute and give back to yourself, then you're better able to give it to other people. Like a coaching conversation I had with somebody a while ago is he struggled to give time to other people. And then when we dug into it, it's because he doesn't make time for himself. So you can't give what you don't kind of hold. And I think that's why I would always mirror back to people looking after yourself first. So thank you. I'm glad you learned to be selfish from me, right? I need to take a long, hard look at my life if that's what people are learning from me, right?
What are you excited for? I'm curious. You asked me that question. What are you excited for next?
I'm great question. I'm just excited about giving value to people and learning how to communicate it better so that it impacts more people. I really think that that's my gap is I know stuff that will absolutely add value. The likes of the mastermind and some of the group conversations that we're having, some of the talks that I'm able to do, I'm able to give that value, but it's probably just not consistent enough at the moment for me to feel like I'm having the impact I know I can. So that's probably is that kind of skill set around, let's call it a product or service, marketing, people. I'm trying to build that piece in the middle, that skill set around the marketing in the middle, because I haven't yet nailed it. And I'm kind of excited about that because I don't know what will happen when I get good at it. So that's kind of cool. That's 1. 2 is this talk in June. I'm excited about like you said, the speakers that we're going to meet, the stage, even just the energy around people focusing on their own development. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about becoming a better version of myself, and I'm really working on that quite like literally yesterday evening. I was writing out some of the areas like being more inspired and actually creating inspiration, being like focusing on my fitness. I have to have shoulder surgery in a couple of weeks. I'm excited about kind of getting over that and getting back to being able to lift stuff over my shoulders, because at the moment I can't. Stuff like that. Like, I'm just excited about kind of creating rather than consuming. I have a couple of things that I want to create. But again, you can have the best product in the world if nobody knows about it or understands why it could help them. Well, then it doesn't matter, you know? So that's where I'm probably curious and excited. And then one other thing I've been playing with in my mind is just how to build in physiology more into my coaching. And I don't know yet if that's dialing up the PT side of what I know, or partnering with somebody who's like killing it in the PT world and finding a way to do that in kind of corporate, so that we make it more human. And I have that as a goal on my whiteboard behind me. I'm kind of excited about that because I don't know what it looks like, but I know that it's needed. And I'm curious to see what development will follow from that.
We talked about the gap there. I thought you were going to say about like closing that gap. I thought you were going to plug the program there. Fair play to you. Like, you missed out a big opportunity there.
Well, you made the connection, right? But it's true. It's closing that gap, because you can do it individually. You can do it in like relationships, close the gap between you and I, or different like Democrats, Republicans, or any of those kind of things. Like, there's all of these like tensions that are being created by people being at different polarities. I would love to pay attention to closing those gaps, because again, you can't give to others what you don't give to yourself. We're not being compassionate or understanding to other people because we're not doing it for ourselves. So I want to try and build that a little bit. And then for corporates, it's close the gap between who they could be with the people that they have and versus where they could be if they tapped into some of that knowledge. Hewlett Packard had a quote a while ago: if HP knew what HP knows, well, then they'd be 3 times as successful. So we have the stuff in people's heads. We just need to tap into it and take away the brakes so that we can release it. So I'm kind of excited about that. I don't know that I'm capable of it on my own, but I'm excited about collaborating rather than competing with people as well, and seeing what we can do with that. So that's some of what I'm excited about. But so maybe let me pause to just see in case you want to respond to any of that.
No, you're good.
So just to end, Peadar, with appreciation, with saying thank you for always showing up with energy, for always showing up being honest, for always just being yourself. I really value like that, getting to know you over the last couple of months, seeing you make progress, but just seeing how coachable you are as well. I think the reason you are where you are and the reason you kind of represent this kind of possibility to other people is because you listen, because you apply, because you develop, and because you're so open to it. So just appreciate you, your journey, our friendship and partnership and companionship and all that kind of stuff. I just appreciate it. So thanks again for taking time out of a busy day. Thank you,
Phil. I appreciate you too, mate. I appreciate the opportunity. Anyone that's listening, I'm glad you listened. I hope you got something from it. If you did, feel free to message Phil and boost my ego a wee bit.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.